Proving that there's no limit to what leftist college students will deem racist, we now find that it's racism when professors ask students to provide doctor's notes when they miss class. Let's just cut to the chase and deem attendance itself racism and close all the damn universities down once and for all. Can we do that? I'm Dr. Duke, and this is the Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Katie is not with us today. She's at the State House protesting amusement parks, trying to get the minimum height requirement to ride a roller coaster lowered down to 3 foot. Today, we're headed to Syracuse University, where a group of black students is demanding changes, which include segregating black and white students in dorms. Let me repeat that. Black students are demanding to be segregated away from white students in dorms. Plus, students at Washington and Lee University are requesting the school's namesake be removed from diplomas because they were slaveholders. But we start at the University of Washington, where professors are being told they can no longer require doctor's notes from absent students because, it's racist. But first, let me ask you a question. Are you prepared for every eventuality? Sooner or later, guys, something's going to happen. There's going to be a flood, there's going to be a hurricane, there's going to be a blizzard, there's going to be a tornado. Sooner or later, something's going to happen. Why not take a little time and invest in some food security? Nice to know that sitting somewhere in a nice, dry, cool place is enough food to get you through 2 weeks or 2 months or 6 months of anything that might come your way. And that's the reason why I trust and use my Patriot Supply, and you should too. A 2-week food kit gets you started. This week, save $70 on these food kits when you go to my special website, preparewithduke.com. preparewithduke.com. These food kits include meals that last up to 25 years in storage. I actually have tasted them. I tasted them when I was completely full, and they taste okay. Imagine how much better they're going to taste when you and your family are hungry. Go to preparewithduke.com. That's preparewithduke.com. All right, on to our first story. Yeah, this is almost too absurd to believe. The Associated Students of the University of Washington Board of Directors passed a resolution calling on the university to ban professors from asking for doctor's notes if a student is absent. As a university professor, I can tell you what this means, right? Right now, the only way I can have any students attend my class is to say, look, if you're going to be absent because you're sick, I need a doctor's note. If I have a note from somebody else, it's the only fair way I have of being able to gauge whether you were really sick or not. Now, and I love this, students want to ban that. Once you ban that, right, kids will be gone and you will not be able to question why. The resolution was passed by an overwhelming vote of 49-0 with a mere 2 abstentions on November 7th. The actual language that they use is that we, student government at ASUW, strongly endorse the revision of student government and policies, Chapter 112, to specifically prohibit faculty from requiring documentation from medical professionals, right? Why? Because disadvantaged kids, which always means to them minority kids. Minority kids may not have the same amount of money. They can't always go to a doctor. They may not have the same kind of, even though they're on campus. They all have the same campus health care. Let that sink in for a moment. They're on campus. They have the same campus medical plans, but black kids may not be able to access them as well as white kids. So to ask them to actually have a note is racist. Justification for the resolution includes the idea that doctors' excuse notes may be racist because they require students to procure and submit medical excuses, significantly disadvantaging students from marginalized communities who are less likely to be adequately insured. Another concern that students brought forth in the resolution is that the health center is overbooked, which can make it difficult for students to get excuse notes, which means not enough doctors. Sounds like the Obamacare on college campuses. Not enough doctor, people being turned away, kids with minor ailments like colds can't get in the queue to get a note, and so therefore they're not excused. What this is absolute ridiculousness. You see a trend here? Because the next 2 stories are going to follow right in line with this. The trend is anything that actually requires students to exert effort, number one, or requires students in some ways to distinguish themselves from other students. Grades, exams, those kind of things. All those things now in college campuses are being described as racist, white supremacist, and must result in the shutting down of those programs. We are really on the cusp now of just not giving grades. We're getting there very closely because grades by themselves discriminate. And so maybe the first step in this is going to be not giving minority kids grades. Give white kids grades grades and then dock their grades, kind of a form of grade reparation, right? Whatever the white kid gets, if they get an A, you give them a C. If you give them a C, give them an F, right? Take off 2-letter grades and don't give minority kids grades at all. Maybe that's the way this is heading. And you look at the second story here, which is just as bad. Students demand to choose roommates based on their race. Just listen to that title and assume for a second it was white kids doing it. Students demand the ability to choose roommates based on their race. Can you imagine a small group of white kids on campus demanding only white roommates? We would condemn this. We would literally condemn this globally. This would be a global story. You would have all sorts of immediate counselors brought in. You would have all sorts of legal teams across the country looking at the racism behind this. You would have the university administration itself seeking to suspend or expel those kids, but the kids asking for it are black kids. At which point, wow, what a forward-thinking idea these kids are putting forth, right? This is at Syracuse University. The chancellor at Syracuse University has stated that he will actively work with a group of students who have issued several demands meant to address a racism issue at the school, including the institution of a new policy that would require students to be offered an option to choose that their roommates share the same race, right? Now, again, breaking news. Already, this Syracuse race story of racism that triggered these demands was proven to be a hoax. So already, the chancellor is reacting to a fake racial incident on campus, like so many of them are, because the left-wing students realize that whether it's true or not, they can force the administration to make changes. And what they're basically telling you here is, if you have the right now, if this goes through, to choose to not have a roommate of an opposite race. The demand to allow, quote, students of color, and that's it. It's not like any white kid can make this request. The demand is to allow students of color to elect not to room with students of other races. It's one of several demands issued by a group of protesting students who aired their concerns about racism on campus during an ongoing sit-in. Syracuse Chancellor Kent Severud spoke at the sit-in and they live streamed the exchange. So this is what happens, right? Fake racial hoax crime is committed. Immediate, the forces of the left rally around the fake, almost knowing it was coming, right? It's amazing how quickly they were able to respond to this. And they have their sit-ins, which forces administrators to come to these sit-ins, where the administrators are lectured by these multi-ethnic kids, and all they can do is apologize and acknowledge their own whiteness and explain what their pronouns are as they're getting drilled by these kids. And then already you've given the power to the kids, right? The chancellor shows up at a sit-in for a fake race complaint, and now he's got his back to the wall. Right? What can you do? The students who called themselves #NotAgainSU, #NotAgain Syracuse University. This group of protesters is calling for the chancellor to resign if he does not sign a document conceding to the list of demands by Wednesday. Even before the given deadline, over 1,000 protesters have already petitioned for his resignation online. So they give him until Wednesday to either give us what we want or to quit. And they're already signing a petition 2 days early demanding he quit regardless. Never apologize to the left, never concede 1 inch to the left, because even if you give in, the protesters are still going to demand your firing. It's not going to win you any points, Chancellor. The general consensus is that black students, and we're talking specifically on behalf of black students. Here's a comment directly from these protesters. The general consensus is that black students, and we're talking specifically on behalf of black students, may feel safer and better rooming with other black students. The chancellor responded to this by saying he spoke with students and he learned that they had good reason to fear roommates who harbor views of racism. So, okay, the chancellor's already lost any bargaining power. He's agreed with the students that students who harbor racist views could be threatening to black students. You've already conceded that to be white is to be racist. So you have to grant this to them now. This is the bind. You got yourself into it. Congratulations. 1950 is calling. It wants its separate but equal back again. And just when you think you've heard the stupidest thing of the day, let me introduce you to what just happened at Washington and Lee University. The fact that the university is named Washington and Lee, the first president of the United States and the great Civil War general, Robert E. Lee, the fact that the school has named this tells you that sooner or later they're going to change their name. There's no way this is going to be able to continue. But right now, the college is still named the College of Washington and Lee. right? Students at Washington and Lee University now want George Washington and Robert E. Lee removed from their diplomas because many people find the slaveholders too controversial to remain. So they would pass out a diploma because Washington and Lee is the name of the college. There would be a picture of Washington and Lee. And now law students in particular at Washington and Lee University are terribly, terribly brokenhearted. I told you directly this was going to happen. Once you've done this, there is no aspect of American or Western culture that cannot be removed. Washington and Lee School of Law students are circulating a petition to allow graduates the option of omitting pictures of the university's namesakes. The men's legacies as slave owners and Lee's role as a general in the Confederacy during the Civil War has made them increasingly controversial figures, and the petition statement reads, quote, "Given the aftermath of the 27 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, and the heightened awareness of making Washington and Lee an inclusive and compassionate environment for all students, we believe this request provides alumni the ability to honor their alma mater without actually acknowledging who their alma mater is, right? Give us the degree, just don't tell us where from, right? What a ridiculous argument. You're going back 2 years now to that ridiculous Charlottesville rally where you had right-wingers and left-wingers in equal doses of stupidity squaring off against each other over nothing. Now you've got that as the reason why, and inclusion, why, Washington and Lee is not inclusive. And sure, a college named Washington and Lee is not inclusive enough because of 44, 45 presidents, it only names one. Of 24 Civil War generals, it only names one. I mean, this is so absurd, but this is where the country's heading. Within 20 years, if nothing changes, you will not be able to have any traditional organizations, any traditional names or mascots. I mean, universities themselves are going to have to completely rebrand themselves. Maybe we're going to get to the point where you just label them with numbers. No, that's not fair. To label a university 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So you'd have 10 Ivy League schools and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just give them that name. That's bad because numbers are hierarchies too. What if we just went to what some elementary schools are doing? Instead of naming them at all, let's give them colors, right? This is green college, and that's red, and that's blue, and that's pink, and that's fuchsia. This is the only way you're going to be able to satisfy these people. What if we just stood up to them and said, you know what? The college you're going to is called Washington and Lee. If you're offended by the school, what the school stands for, who the school's named for, don't come here. How about that? How about that? Right? The perfect form of exclusion and exclusion. You choose not to attend a school that you think has a racist name. How about that? How about you just walk away? Right? I mean, is there any more empowering moment than that? When you're a 17, 18-year-old kid and there are literally 8 million colleges in Virginia you can attend, that you can't just say, I'm not going to that one until you change your name. Fair enough. No, you got to go to the school, take the school's financial aid, whine and complain about how racist the school is, demand concessions from the school, get the concessions, and then not advertise the school you went to. And that'll do for today. If you like the show, again, please consider supporting it by signing up for our Patriot Club. It's $25 a month, but you get stuff like this really handy-dandy Dr. Duke Show thermos mug thermos, cooler cup, whatever you want to call it. So it's like the soda pop debate, depending upon where you live in the country. Anyway, you get this really neat thing, and we'll throw in this little stress ball. So you may see it in my hand, the actual Dr. Duke Show stress ball, right? It's what stops me from speaking too loud and getting a little too carried away. I squeeze my little stress ball, and I don't bang the table, which my producer hates. We'll send you one of those. And a couple times a year, we'll send you little goodies like that to help keep the show going. So we really appreciate you. All you got to do is visit drdukeshow.com to get started. I'd like to take a moment and thank our friends at My Patriot Supply for sponsoring today's Dr. Duke Show. If you have a business, large or small, we'd love to help you reach more people. We have a growing, patriotic, American-loving audience, and I think they would be great for your business. Visit freedomproject.com/advertise, freedomproject.com/advertise to get started. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.